Our next round is called This Is My, where we bring on a mystery guest who has a close connection to one of our panellists. Now, this week, each of Lee's team will claim it's them that has the genuine connection to the guest. It's up to David's team to spot who is telling the truth. So joining us by video link, please welcome this week's special guest, Hugh. So, Angela, what is Hugh to you?
Well, this is Hugh, and his reindeer once smashed my windscreen.
Right, Angela's screen smasher. Ardle, how do you know Hugh?
This is Hugh. One Christmas, I felt so bad about lying to him, I had to leave the country.
Right, Ardle's misled mate. And finally, Lee, what's your relationship with Hugh?
This is Hugh. He saved my life when I caused a riot at a prison panto.
So, there we have it. David, where would you like to begin?
OK, so, Angela, talk us through what happened with the windscreen and the reindeer.
What more would you like to know?
OK, were you in the car?
No, I wasn't.
Was the car moving?
No.
Where was the car parked?
It was parked in the car park of a pub on the edge of Dartmoor.
And how did the reindeer come to smash the windscreen?
Because it was on the roof of the pub, which is a 16th century pub. And every year I have a party in this pub for my friends and relatives. And Hugh, and it's now his son, actually, Chris Worthington, who looks after it. But when Hugh was there, Hugh used to decorate the pub and had one of those things with the reindeer pulling the sled across the roof.
Doing untold damage to a listed building?
Well, no. It had been put up there properly.
OK.
No. But we were all inside having dinner, and suddenly there was this almighty crash. And my car was the one that was right in its path when it fell.
So what happened? Where was Hugh when all of this commotion was going on?
Behind the bar, where he belonged.
Did he?
Belong. Get back behind the bar where you belong.
He's mine host. He was the owner of the pub.
Yeah, sure. But when all the commotion happened, obviously Hugh would have...
He ran out too. We all went out to see what the noise was.
Yeah. And how was your reaction? Did you deck him?
Did I what?
Deck him.
With that accent, you can't say that.
No.
Did you deck him?
No, I didn't deck him, and I didn't deck him either. No.
Missed opportunity.
And are you still in contact with Hugh?
Well, not really, because Hugh now lives in Melbourne. He's moved.
Are you saying that's where he is now?
I'm assuming that's where he is now. Yes.
Gosh.
I feel sorry for Hugh, because he's probably thinking, why couldn't they just taken a photograph of me and put this on pause? No. And I could have gone, oh, there he is, he's moving.
No,
I'm smiling, Hugh, you know the rules.
Ardle.
Yes.
What was your relationship with Hugh again?
Well, Hugh was on a committee at my children's primary school, and shortly before Christmas one year, he asked me to be Santa Claus at the Christmas fair.
Right.
And I didn't want to be Santa Claus at the Christmas fair.
Yeah.
So I said no.
Why?
It's my worst nightmare, actually. I just thought, like, why me?
Because you're Ardle O'Hanlon and you're lovable.
For an actor, it's a bit like a busman's holiday. They're going to be questioning your credibility, like, you're not the real Santa, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I've done it, and it went very well.
And did they believe you were the real Santa?
Yes, they did, because I put on a different voice.
Oh.
Can we hear it?
Hello, Angela.
Oh.
Have you been good this year?
Oh, dear. Yeah, you sound like a sort of pervert robot.
I don't care. All that matters to me is the opinion of Jim Broadbent.
Well, I've played Santa several times, and I think no.
I set you up. I elevated you above these idiots. Continue, David.
Well, no, I can completely understand why that sort of event would be a nightmare. So what did you do?
Well, I lied to you. I said I'd love to do it, but I can't. And I said the first thing that came into my head, I said, I'm going to be away that weekend. And then I felt really bad for telling him that lie. So when I got home, I booked a weekend away.
Where to?
Stockholm.
Why Stockholm?
It was available.
So your children missed the Christmas fair as well?
No, they didn't miss it. They went to the Christmas fair.
You went to Stockholm yourself?
On my own. I picked Stockholm because I thought if I went to Paris or Barcelona, I might have had fun. And I genuinely didn't want to have fun. And I just wanted to be away. I couldn't take the chance of staying in my own house because Hugh is quite formidable and he has like minions. And
What did you fear would happen to you if you
well, I would have
found
been
out about
exposed
this
as a liar, and I didn't want to be. I have lied before, and I've lied quite successfully, and, without any qualms.
Okay.
But on this occasion, I felt, because it was my children were involved, my wife was doing the tombola, she wasn't going to come with me.
Yeah.
How is Mr. Bowler?
You have to ask her, I don't know.
One more question. Why is Hugh not here in the studio?
Because I live in Dublin, as does Hugh. And I think that answers that.
OK, now what about Lee? Lee, remind us of your claim.
This is Hugh. He saved my life when I caused a riot at a prison panto.
Oh. What was the prison?
Wandsworth.
And were you thrilled when you heard they were going to put a panto on and you would get to watch it?
Why were you in the prison?
I was in the prison because a friend of mine works for a charity that puts on shows for prisoners, and they asked me if I would get involved.
So what was the panto?
The panto was Cinderella.
Uh-huh.
What was your role?
My role was to sort of bring a bit of good spirits to the company. I wasn't in the panto.
It must have been very hard for you once the performance began.
Yeah.
Because I know you, and it would have been very hard for you to be in the wings and not want to...
Hang on, I wasn't in... Which wing are you talking about?
in H-wing, right? But to be in the wings, and you must have wanted to get on there.
Well, I did introduce the show. That was my sort of... I'll introduce the show.
And what form did your introduction take?
It's a tough gig. I was trying to use all the usual stuff. What do you do for a living? Oh, sorry, right. And then I thought, do what you do at Panto. They'll love this. They don't want to hear my jokes. What they want, chocolate.
Right.
So I had a bowl of those little wrapped miniature sweet things, and I just started lobbing them out, because that's what you do at Panto, right? I was lobbing them out and getting everyone upbeat.
And what happened?
It was getting a bit rowdy. And then I threw a big handful very hard, and it hit one of the, I didn't know at the time, notorious hard men. Straight in the eye.
Yes.
What miniature bar was it?
No, it was a giant Toblerone.
So what happens then?
So he said, "You've just hit me in the eye." And then it goes a bit quiet. Everyone's tense because they know it's Big Harry.
So what happened?
Yeah.
He does what any hardened criminal does when he's trying to assert his alpha maleness. He goes for me.
Right.
And the next minute, complete riot breaks out.
In all of this, where does Hugh fit in?
Where does Hugh fit in?
Where does Hugh fit in? Where does Hugh fit in?
I was the executive producer.
Not you. What was Hugh's role?
He was, brace yourself, and is a prisoner.
What? Well, I wasn't expecting that. So Hugh was a con.
Not was a con. Hugh is a prisoner.
He's in a very relaxed prison now.
Yeah.
That is an artificial backdrop that they sent to the prison, and if you were to pull that away, you'd see lots of bars, seriously, and uniforms with arrows facing upwards.
What did he do?
The wardens have gone, the alarms are going, it's chaos. So Hugh grabs me, he says, "Keep your head down and follow me." And we ran, and then we find this open cell, and he just throws me in, shuts the door. He says, "This is the only place no one can get to because it's automatic locking."
Yeah.
And now I'm in, I'm safe.
How long were you there?
I was in there for 2.5 years. It was supposed to be 4, but I had really good behaviour and I worked in the library.
All right, we need an answer. So, David's team, is Hugh Angela's screen smasher, Ardle's misled mate, or Lee's prison pal. What are you thinking, Jim?
Well, it's all mysterious why Hugh's on the screen, and the best reason for that is Angela's. That was entirely credible.
What about you, Rose?
Weirdly, I believe that Ardal has travelled to Stockholm to avoid an awkward conversation before, but it has nothing to do with Hugh. I think Angela.
You think Angela?
Absolutely.
I think Angela.
I think we think Angela's is
You're
the
going to
most
say
plausible
Angela.
story.
So, Hugh, would you please reveal your true identity?
I'm Hugh, and Ardal lied to me one Christmas.
Yes, Hugh is Ardal's misled mate. Thank you very much, Hugh. So please welcome this week's special guest, David. So, Joe Lycett, what is David to you?
This is my neighbour David, and last year, to save money, we time-shared a Christmas tree.
Ruth, how do you know David?
This is David, and he walked into a charity shop just as I was donating the gift he'd given me a few days earlier.
Right, Ruth's charitable chum. And finally, David, what is your relationship with David?
This is David, and when my daughter lost her beloved toy rabbit, we held up a train so I could board it and grab it.
So there we have it. Lee's team, where would you like to begin?
Joe, next door neighbour?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, why aren't you just buying your own Christmas tree?
Well, David and I decided to save a bit of money. We knew David was going away on Christmas Eve, so he wasn't going to use the Christmas tree after that point. I was working pretty much up until Christmas, so we thought it was a good idea that we
So he
save a
got
bit.
it from the 1st of December?
He got it on the 12th to the 24th. Then I had it from the 24th to the 1st. I got rid of it on the 1st.
And did you take it decorated?
Yeah.
Just in one like that and just plonk it in your house?
So that's why we won't do it again, because we worked out that the savings that we made from sharing the cost of the tree, which was about 60 quid, we saved that, but the amount of baubles that we lost in the transit.
And this was all about saving £30.
Yes.
But, you know, you're doing all right.
David's not.
What was your Christmas setup after the 24th? Did you have people staying with you?
They didn't stay, but they came for Christmas dinner.
For the day?
You remember they came to watch EastEnders?
Yeah. You had a big row with them, don't you remember?
We had a big row, yeah.
Right, who would you like to question next?
Ruth.
Yes.
Can you remind us of your...
David's my cousin, and he walked into a charity shop just as I was donating the gift he'd given me a few days earlier.
What was the gift?
What was the gift, first of all?
Right, it's one of those, you know, them really ugly porcelain pig things that open.
Huh?
You know them on
Cookie jar.
Yeah, but smaller than a cookie jar. Not big enough for a cookie jar, so you couldn't even use it for that.
So sorry, you've gone into the charity shop to get rid of this pig thing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the only words that can
Your cousin's
describe it.
walked in
Yeah.
and gone, taking a pig for a walk. What are you doing with a pig? What did you say?
I didn't expect him to be there.
Did you carry on with the process of like, let's get rid?
Yeah, talk us through exactly what happened after he
Right,
walks in.
Right, David came in because he saw me. There was absolutely no other reason for him to go in the charity shop. You could tell he was really upset, but without wanting
But
to...
did he mention... What did he say?
He went, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, he just pointed at this pig that I'm holding.
Yeah.
And I panicked, so I said, "Look, I didn't want to tell you at the time, but I've already got one."
So when did he actually find out the truth then?
So I had to call David and tell him I was coming on Would I Lie to You? And I can't stand the thought of hurting anyone's feelings.
So you thought you'd bring him on national television and humiliate him?
No. We've since spoke, and he's lovely.
Right.
Now, Lee, what about David? David, remind us of your claim and your statement.
This is David, and he helped me board a train to rescue a rabbit.
First of all, where were you going from?
I was going from London to Cardiff.
With your wife and child?
Exactly.
Was you going there for a reason?
What do you mean by that? You're going to have a reason to go to Cardiff? Oh, you come down here with your Cockney patter. People go to Cardiff just because they want to visit it.
Sorry, mate.
Did you like it there, David?
It was very nice.
Did you
Honestly,
like it?
I'd put Carlisle into the train app, so...
Talk us through what happened.
Well, what happened? We got on the train,
Yeah.
and she, this rabbit called Pink Rabbit. It's a pink rabbit.
What's it called?
She calls it Pink Rabbit.
That's it. She's got your sort of creativity.
Thank you. And it's her second favourite cuddly toy.
Who's the favourite?
The favourite is another rabbit. He's called Wiggles.
Wiggles.
Oh, OK.
Aww.
But Wiggles never leaves the house.
Oh, has he got an asbo?
It's better we always know where Wiggles is.
Oh, OK.
But Pink Rabbit is the favourite of the toys she will take out of the house.
How had you acquired the rabbit? Where did the rabbit come from?
It was probably a Christmas present at some point. But the thing is, it was around for a couple of years. This, among the various, she got lots of toy rabbits and that sort of thing. And then suddenly, and I'm not quite sure why, Pink Rabbit came to favour. It was like Stalin emerging as the front runner of the Politburo. You know,
Are you still doing the bedtime stories?
He wasn't the obvious successor to Lenin, but then a few years later, suddenly he's in charge. So Pink Rabbit has had a meteoric rise.
Right. Yeah. You get off the train at Cardiff.
Exactly.
And when do you realise the rabbit's gone?
When we've got to the hotel and my wife realises, and a look
But
of...
she's married to you and has a breakdown.
Thank you. As always, you've made it so Christmassy. But then she sort of takes me aside and says, I don't think we've got Pink Rabbit.
So at no point has your daughter made any reference to this rabbit, even though it's her favourite rabbit.
I know. The thing is, when we got on the train, my daughter said, can we get Pink Rabbit out of the bag? I want to have Pink Rabbit with me on the train. And it was my strong view that that was a bad idea. That we should keep Pink Rabbit in the bag where we know where Pink Rabbit is and only get Pink Rabbit out when we get to Cardiff. But no, I was overruled. It was apparently fine and she would keep an eye on Pink Rabbit and not forget about Pink Rabbit.
OK.
So, your wife said to you, Pink Rabbit's gone.
Yeah.
Do you phone the train station? Because Pink Rabbit's on the way back to London.
No.
No?
No. Pink Rabbit is on the way to Swansea.
Yeah.
Where it is going to turn round and then head back to London via, and here's the loophole...
The Lake District.
No, via Cardiff. The train is coming back via Cardiff.
So you know now where the train is headed. So what do you decide to do?
We go to Cardiff station in order to get on it and look for Pink Rabbit.
But you said a cuddly toy.
Oh, yes.
How many children do you have?
One.
Well, of course, classic only child scenario. I've got 5. I would have said the rabbit's dead. Get on with your life. So what happened?
Well, we went to the station.
Yeah.
David was in the sort of glass room / booth next to the barriers.
It's nice that he's brought it with him.
We went up to him and said, look, we haven't got tickets for the train, but we don't want to get on the train. We want to go and retrieve a toy rabbit. And he looked quite stern and severe and then nodded and went, yeah, that's fine. And it was a wonderful moment of possibility.
Right. So then what happened?
The train comes into the station. My wife goes to the front of the train to talk to the driver.
She's such a flirt.
And we've worked out where our carriage would be coming in.
Yes.
I get on the right carriage to look for Pink Rabbit and, as it turned out, thankfully find Pink Rabbit and then get off the train.
The bit we haven't heard yet is that if you have specifically said, I don't think the rabbit should leave the bag, and then you get to the hotel and she says, oh, we haven't got the rabbit. How did that conversation go?
What can I say? I'm a hell of a guy.
But what did you actually say?
I did not say, I told you so.
You didn't say I told you so?
I did not say I told you so.
You might have said it with your mouth. Did you say it with your eyes?
Oh, well, I can't
did you
affect that, can I? Can't affect what they're doing. They're always admonishing everyone. But no, I didn't say that because I knew my wife would already have been thinking it. It was not necessary for me to say those words because they were already in her brain.
So be honest.
And at some point, she is going to say, "You told me so," for me, as indeed she subsequently did.
And so let's be honest.
That is when a relationship is working.
We need an answer. So, Lee's team, is David Joe's frugal friend, Ruth's charitable chum, or David's rabbit rescuer?
This is a tough one. I mean, Ruth is... It's not likely, is it?
No, I don't think that's likely.
I'm genuinely torn between David and Joe. I don't know.
I've been in the same situation and lost a teddy bear at the airport, and I was gutted, cried for ages. I'm going to go with David, because I've been there.
I have also been there, so I do feel that this could be true.
I'm aware of, like, how emotionally damaging these situations can be, and for that reason, we didn't buy our children any toys. So it's hard to know,
Fair enough.
really.
Yeah.
Joe, what did you think? What's it going to be?
Go with David.
I'll go with David.
We'll go with David.
I'm going to say that David held up the train. OK. David, would you please reveal your true identity?
I'm David, and David and I rescued his daughter's rabbit.
Yes, David is David's rabbit rescuer. Thank you very much, David. So please welcome this week's special guest, Jerry. What is Jerry to you?
This is Jerry, and he was the policeman who came to investigate when I was heard screaming during a Christmas game of Twister.
Right, Sean's concerned copper. James, how do you know Jerry?
This is Jerry. He's the fireman who every Boxing Day soaks me with water during a festive game of squirt.
Right, James's fireman friend. And finally, Lee, what's your relationship with Jerry?
This is Jerry. He's the paramedic who ticked me off last Christmas after I landed my drone in his ambulance.
David's team, where to begin?
Sean, you were playing Twister.
Yep.
What was the occasion?
It was in between Christmas and New Year, and me and my family had gone away and rented a cottage.
And why did you scream?
Because I think I had my left hand on red and right foot on green.
Tricky.
And we'd all had a few drinks, and...
What was the time? What time of day?
Oh, it was evening.
Right.
It was evening. I'd say about 10:30ish.
OK.
And my uncle fell on my face and I screamed. And you would scream, wouldn't you? You would scream.
Was he a friendly uncle?
Very friendly.
If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in tonight's show, there is a website you can visit.
It wasn't a horrific scream. It was fun. I was having fun. I was just a bit hysterical.
Could you reproduce it, Sean? Could an actress of your stature reproduce it for us now? Imagine, Lee, is this uncle who's a little too friendly. You're never that happy when he turns up, no matter how many presents you think, oh, it's Uncle Lee. Oh.
I like the way that you said she's a good actress, so she could play the part of the screamer, but I could just play the untoward uncle naturally.
So, there you are. Why don't you demonstrate the Twister? James, what are you doing?
Playing the Twister mat.
It wasn't a scary scream. It was like a... because I was having fun scream.
How did the neighbour next door hear it if it was just a little scream?
Did the uncle let out anything as well? Did
I certainly did not.
So what happens then? So suddenly there's a knock on the door.
Yeah.
And what happens when Jerry arrives?
Well, we're all just having fun at this point. We've all had a few drinks. We all invite Jerry in, see if Jerry wants a sherry. He was really lovely about it.
All right.
So is there a police station in this village? And they're all on duty at Christmas week, are they?
There's always got to be a policeman on duty somewhere.
To look out for madmen like you pushing donkeys down lanes. Now, what about James?
OK, James.
Just remind us, James, what it was that you said.
Jerry is the fireman who every Boxing Day soaks me with water during a festive game of squirt.
Oh. OK. What's going on?
Squirt is a game.
Is it?
Yeah. 2 teams of firemen.
OK, so that's... For a game of squirt, the first thing you need is 2 teams of fire.
And they go either side of a river.
Yeah.
And you get a rope and you tie it up in a tree at one side of the river, and then you run it along and you tie it to a tree at the other side of the river.
Yeah.
But before you've tied it to the other side, you thread a barrel across it.
Of course you do.
Just thread a barrel.
Yeah. What if there's a fire in the local area during the lengthy setup for a game of squirt?
Well, he's not... They can't put out fires anyway. He's only volunteer.
Sorry?
They're just a volunteer fire brigade. They're not allowed to put out fires.
What are they allowed to do? Just look at them?
They are permitted to pick up litter.
Where do they get the fire engines and everything from then?
Their fire engine's an old one. It's more like a ice cream van that's painted red.
The volunteers, do they have the uniforms?
No. The Kettering Volunteer Fire Brigade have a T-shirt and it has an emblem on it of a fire being put out by a beer.
Talk us through the rules of squirt.
OK. You get the barrel to the middle of the rope, right in the middle of the rope, and then both teams aim their hoses at it.
Are the volunteer firemen allowed real water, or do they just mime it?
No, they're allowed water, they just can't aim it at a fire.
OK.
If there was a fire, they would have to turn the hose off.
Right.
So what happens next?
Someone's like, go! And then they both turn their hoses on and they aim it at the barrel. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the barrel, trying to squirt it along the rope so it gets to the opposition side of the bank. And all the water is hitting this barrel, and we're standing on the bridge. Getting soaked.
Yeah.
And then you walk home going, good squirt this year.
Right, now then, what about Lee?
How did you come to land the drone in Jerry's ambulance?
We have this really weird tradition in our house where we like to keep dry. And so I thought, what I'll do is I'll fly my drone, but I'll stay in the house. And the window was open, and I thought...
The window was open because it was a very hot Boxing Day.
The window was open. The window was open because my wife always has the heat on very high over Christmas, and I'm not a fan of the radiators, so I opened the window. Yeah. And I was practising in the bedroom, and I thought, I'm so in control of this, rather than go downstairs and fly it, I'm just going to go straight out the window.
Was the drone a Christmas present?
The drone was a Christmas present, correct.
Who gave you a drone for Christmas?
Not you, because you got me nothing.
Yeah.
It was my wife.
Your wife got you... It's a very romantic present. A drone.
She's heard me say it to her a lot during the year. Drone, drone.
Why was there an ambulance there? Had your wife called it as a precautionary measure?
The ambulance was actually the house over the road, and as I was flying the drone, I looked over, and a man was carried out on a stretcher. And I think, can't quite see what's going on, but I thought I'll have a little look at that. And my drone has a camera attached to it, so I fly my drone over, that's getting closer and closer. You know, I'm getting quite a good...
It can help, I think, when someone's just had a heart attack or something. Something shocking or strange can really helps them really get it together.
I thought so. And so I was watching it and I thought, this is interesting. And then he gets put in the back of the ambulance and the doors stay open and Jerry goes in the back. I thought, I'll have a little look, see what's going on. So I get a bit closer. And now I'm hovering just outside the back doors.
Yeah.
And I pushed forward a little bit too much. and the drone went straight into the back of the ambulance, striking Jerry on the back.
This presumably hurt Jerry because the rotors of a drone are very fast.
Yeah, he was a good 3 or 4 inches taller than this last year.
So Jerry spots you leaning out of your bedroom window with a remote control. What does he then do?
Oi! I said, give me my drone back! I can't really repeat what he said on television
swore.
because... No, he's French and I don't understand French.
All right, we need an answer. So, David's team. Is Jerry Sean's concerned copper, James's fireman friend, or Lee's peeved paramedic?
Oh, I
I think it's James's.
You think it's James's?
Yeah. I think it's Sean.
I mean, I think we're agreed Lee is lying.
Yeah.
The question is it James or Sean?
I think it's a mate of James's from the pub who was a volunteer fireman.
I'm not happy about this. Because my instinct is that James is telling the truth.
Right.
But I know what that's saying publicly. I know what I am then believing. I'm believing a game that is played across a river between volunteer firemen with a souped-up ice cream van and squirting a barrel in which the locals come and stand and watch in just the place where they get splattered with water.
What's it going to be?
I think it's James.
You're going to go with James?
Yeah. Go on,
Jerry,
I'm saying it's James.
would you please reveal your true identity?
I'm Jerry, and I'm a volunteer fireman who soaks drains on Boston Day.
Oh, Jerry.
Yes, Jerry is James's fireman friend. Thank you very much, Jerry. So please welcome this week's special guest, Matthew. So, Richard, what is Matthew to you?
This is Matthew. When we were 9 years old, we co-founded an atheists club.
Clive, what is Matthew to you?
This is Matthew, and when he was filming me reporting on a rise in street crime, someone took his camera.
And then finally, Lee, what is your relationship with Matthew?
This is Matthew. I had to foot his dry cleaning bill after my fidget spinner landed in his soup.
So there we have it. Is Matthew Richard's atheist ally, Clive's cameraless cameraman, or Lee's dirty diner? David's team. Who would you like to start with?
Richard.
Yes.
Atheists Club.
Yes.
Well, there's an obvious question, isn't there? At what point did you decide to lie about your atheism just to earn money from the Church of England?
Matthew and I were boy trebles, choristers together at prep school, and we sang in the choir together, and at the age of 9, we formed the School Chapel Choir Atheists Club.
Wow.
As a protest against the blandishments of religion and as a refusal to submit to the mythical and tyrannical deity forced upon us.
Richard, it's Christmas. I'll bet you had a lovely voice as well, because, you know, with the Communards, you were lovely, weren't you?
Well, that wasn't me singing in the
Have you ever interviewed a rock star before? With the Communards, you were lovely, weren't you? Next week, Mick Jagger. With the Rolling Stones, you were lovely, isn't it?
I don't believe that a 9-year-old would have bonked his Christmas stocking on the head like that.
Well, that's a very interesting point. Did you still have a Christmas stocking?
Well, I would suspend my atheism if there was any chance of personal reward.
OK, I believe that.
Yes.
Yeah. And now you've done so with your whole career.
Exactly.
Yeah. So at what point did you begin to doubt your doubts?
At what point did I wake from the slumber of atheism?
Yes, exactly.
That came along much later, when I was in my late 20s, after a period of turbulence in life, and I realised that what I had acquired unknowingly all those years ago in the choir was actually, I was good to go with it.
And that was after the Communards, a time at which I will say you were lovely.
Thank you very much.
Was it just you and Matthew, or were there other non-believers?
No, there was Porky Hamblin as well.
Porky Hamblin?
Porky Hamblin sounds like a cartoon character that they use to advertise
in the
pies.
Beano.
He was only
Were you
real.
brought up in an Enid Blyton?
Porky Hamblin was a barrister who became a Pilates teacher in Market Harborough.
Could you harmonise now together, you and Matthew?
No, Matthew's not allowed to make
He's
any
not
sound.
allowed to.
He's not?
I've got a lovely voice, so
Could you?
if you wanted to sing, we could.
Sing choirs of angels singing exultation.
Oh, you did that. I went for that as well. I went for the desk.
OK.
What would be the atheist version of that?
It would be a largely silent howl of punk rage.
Right. Who would you like to question next?
Clive, you were filming a segment about street crime.
Rising levels of street crime, yeah. And Matthew was filming me doing a piece to camera. And it often happens when you're in the middle of the street and, you know, things are going on and so forth. People are coming up behind you and mooning, or they come up and doing this kind of thing while you're trying to do the piece to camera.
That's me.
Yeah. And this kid comes up behind and goes like this. I, of course, didn't see him do that, but Matthew saw that
Definitely
happen.
a kid, not a rabbit.
He took one hand off the lens to say, "Get out the shot." And someone ran up behind him and just grabbed the camera off him.
Wow. The camera's quite big and heavy.
Yeah,
They're
very.
heavy, exactly. So he legged it with the camera, with holding it by the handle, running like this.
Yes.
Me and Matthew legged it after him, and because they're quite heavy, he couldn't continue that far, so he just dropped it.
So you got the camera back, but presumably it was badly damaged.
It was a bit knackered, yeah. But the main thing was the film was intact.
But a television camera, that's not a very useful thing for them to steal, is it?
You flog it.
It's pretty noticeable, isn't it? If you go, we've got this television camera. It's my granny's.
You'd be surprised.
What you want is an iPhone or some cash, don't you? I mean, kids, what you want is an iPhone or some cash.
Can I touch Matthew's arms to feel his muscles?
Yes, you can.
Because if you're a cameraman, you've got to have guns, right?
Well, feel free.
Okay.
Bear in mind...
Not necessarily. A lot of guys wear braces now. So.
Bear in mind, Matthew's not allowed to speak.
Right.
So
I won't engage.
None of your probing questions.
Not gonna... Thank you. Quite strong. And the other one? Wow. You work out.
Does he?
No, not a word.
I'll tell you what, I wish I hadn't dropped my fidget spinner in his suit. I wouldn't have done it if I'd have known that.
OK, now, what about Lee? He's having soup and fidget spinners.
Well, what is a fidget spinner, firstly?
Do you really not know? A fidget spinner, it's all the rage at the moment. You get them in different shapes and sizes, and you spin it on your finger, and it just spins round.
Right.
Lee, I've got one here. If you want to...
Yes. So that is the fidget spinner. You place it on the finger and you basically just spin it round and it's quite relaxing.
Where were you when you were fidgeting with this?
We were in a restaurant, me and my friend.
But if you're in a restaurant eating soup, surely you wouldn't be spinning things on your finger.
Yeah.
I did not say I was eating soup.
Were you eating soup?
Yes.
But you seem very adept
But I
with
didn't
that.
say I was eating soup
No,
because it landed in his soup.
Okay. Describe the scene. You're in a restaurant. Who are you with?
I'm with Eddie the Hat, who's a mate of mine.
Eddie the Hat.
Eddie the Hat.
Is that a nickname or is he a hat?
No, he's...
Have you befriended a hat?
He's, no, he's Eddie the Hat because he's a nickname we have because...
I don't care.
Weirdly, he never wears hats.
Now, so you're having a meal with Eddie.
Eddie the Hat.
Where's Matthew?
Matthew is sat, I would say, not a million miles away from the distance he is now, so a little bit nearer, so...
At the next table?
Well, yes.
So you're having soup with one hand and
Doing this.
using the spinner with the other, is that right?
I'd had the last few mouthfuls, the bowl was still there, and then, as we all do, well, since I stopped smoking, I decided to have a quick spin. And you can still spin in a restaurant. They haven't started the rule we have to spin outside.
OK.
Did you feel, as you were eating the soup, a bit of spinning coming on?
I did. I always do towards the end of a particularly...
Do you, after breakfast, do you spin with your cup of
Every
coffee?
opportunity to stop my hands feeling busy. It was something the therapist told me to do.
I think it's to keep your hands busy is the expression, not stop my hands feeling busy. Those are the words of a maniac.
It keeps my hands calm because I'm always wanting to do things with my hands. Like at the moment, I want to punch David in the face. My fidget spinner, I wouldn't do it.
So, there you are. You're having a post-soup spin.
I'm having a little spin.
What happens?
So I'm spinning away, and Eddie the Hat's talking about things, you know, and he's quite impressed. He's going, "You can really spin that quite fast, can't you?" I said, "Oh, yeah." And I got a little bit carried away, and I really went for a massive one. It flew off. The spinner landed in the soup, and then an explosion of tomato soup went all over his shirt, his jacket, and his trousers.
Wow. What happened to the spinner?
He took the spinner out like that. He was disgusted at me. He gave it back. I didn't help matters by going, "Yep, still working."
We need an answer. So, David's team, is Matthew Richard's atheist ally, Clive's cameraless cameraman, or could it be Lee's dirty diner?
Well, he's got strong arms, he's wiry, he could be a cameraman.
He looks like a cameraman.
He could also, of course, eat in a restaurant, because anyone can.
Yeah, but...
And he looks about the right age to have been at school with Richard. Do you see the problem?
I would say Clive.
And you think?
I think Clive... Yep, he's the
definitely
cameraman.
think Clive. Well,
Defo.
I think it's Richard.
What?
Yeah.
It sounds to me like the truth is somewhere between Clive and Richard.
No, I'm not going to overrule. We'll say Clive.
Thank you.
OK, they're saying that it's Clive. Matthew, would you please reveal your true identity?
I'm Matthew, and Richard and I did start an atheist club.
Yes, Matthew is Richard's atheist ally. Thank you very much, Matthew. Thank you. So please welcome this week's special guest, Dennis. So, Chris, what is Dennis to you?
This is Dennis. We once staged a burglary to cover up for the fact that we'd been bunking off school.
Sarah, how do you know Dennis?
This is Dennis. He's the park gardener who came to my aid when my legs turned to jelly mid-run.
And finally, Lee, what's your relationship with Dennis?
This is Dennis, or as I call him, Squeaky Diesel. I always fill up at his petrol station because his unbelievably high-pitched voice always cheers me up.
So there we have it. Is Dennis Chris's burglary buddy, Sarah's gardening angel, or Lee's falsetto friend? David's team, where would you like to start?
So, Chris.
Yes.
The two of you staged a burglary.
Yes.
Explain how that helped cover that you were bunking off school.
Well, because when we bunked off school, it was cold sometimes.
Yeah.
So you had to go into a house.
Yeah.
So we went to Dennis's house.
OK.
And the key wasn't where it normally is.
Dennis's house is locked?
Yes.
Why didn't you then try your house?
Because my mum was in.
OK. Good answer.
So I climbed the drain pipe to get in the house.
Right. So what...
Because there was only a window open, sorry, on the second floor.
And you got in that way successfully, or not?
No, not successfully.
OK.
To try and get the window latch down, which is down there, with my hand, my knees have gone through the window.
Right.
Did it draw blood?
No. Everything shattered that way.
Shattered that way. Was it made out of windscreen glass?
So I went downstairs to let...
Why hadn't Dennis...
Do you remember his name? Your old school friend?
Why hadn't Dennis... It's Dennis's house. Why were you having to do the climbing?
Good question. Yeah. I know why, because Dennis...
Don't say it like you've just thought of it. You've got to act in this show.
Right. Dennis climbed up the drain pipe first.
Right.
Right? But his arms are not as long as mine. So when he put his arm through the long latch window, he couldn't quite reach it.
So you climb in, you go downstairs, you let Dennis in. What happens then?
Well, we then realise Dennis is going to be in trouble with his mum and his dad when they get home from school. So...
Were they at school as well? Were they slow learners?
They were teachers.
Or they were teachers? At the school that you went to?
Not at our school, no.
So what do you do then?
So Dennis came up with this great idea of making it look like a robbery. So he said, let's break into the gas meter.
Murder a postman. Scatter his body parts around.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
I think he used the screwdriver. Flicked up the corner flap, put his hands in and got the 50p's out, and then we were gone.
What did you do about finding somewhere warm to... Did you use the 50p's to get a hotel room?
All right, who next, David?
Sarah.
Yes?
Tell the story of your encounter with Dennis.
I'd been out drinking alcohol with friends. I was over 18 and it was fine. But my friend had given me this advice that if you exercise first thing in the morning, you sweat it all out and then you feel you don't have that hangover thing. So I ran from my house to the park and then I was just starting to go round in a loop and I was going to be so ill. I just kept thinking, be sick in a bin. No, don't be sick in a bin. And I was really desperate for water. And
This is like listening to Paula Radcliffe.
I was so concentrating on not being sick, I didn't realise my legs had gone to liquid. And then I just had my face in the grass. And I was thinking, I'll just stay here, hopefully. People don't think I'm a dead body.
And what did Dennis do?
Well, Dennis came over and took my pulse. So that I could kind of feel...
Bit sinister.
So did he say...
No.
What was Dennis doing in the park? Was
He works there, he's a park gardener.
He's a park gardener, like
Greenwich
Percy the
Park.
park keeper.
Percy the park keeper?
You've not read that?
No, have you?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a children's book.
Why are you reading it then?
Because I'm a father.
He's got to have something to do when he's allowed to see them on a Friday.
So he's taking your pulse. What happens then?
Well, he kind of took me up and walked me to a bench and then went and got me some water from the little hut where he works.
A lovely man.
I'm going to write a series of kids' books all about him.
Not sure it's the right market.
Dennis the Menace has got a different ring to it now.
Right, what about Lee?
Lee is Squeaky Diesel. So where is this petrol station?
It's about a mile from my house.
So it's also convenient?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not so high-pitched that I'd drive to Harrogate.
OK, fair enough. Can you give us an impression of how...
Well, I could try and do an impression, but
Obviously it won't be as
I find
good as...
impressionism is for the lowest form of entertainment.
Should I play you? Like, if I be you in your car, would that help?
Can you do impressions of me? Can you...
Oh, all right, I'm Lee Mack. The Diesels running... See, look, everyone thinks it's hot.
It's good with the way you said, I'm Lee Mack,
That
because
helps a
that
lot.
clarifies who you're trying to be.
Did you come up with the name Squeaky Diesel?
I was that one, yes.
And does Dennis know that?
He does now.
But he didn't before?
No, he has no idea what he's doing on the show tonight. I just told him, come along, I've got a free jumper for you. You know what he said?
That's very kind, thank you very much.
Squeaky Diesel.
OK, one question, this might trip you up.
OK.
Does your car take petrol or diesel?
It takes petrol.
Got him!
I just didn't think Squeaky Petrol had the same sort of scan to it. It just sort of... It felt Squeaky Diesel just sounds nice.
What do you think, Tom?
It seems so unlikely that Lee's car runs on petrol, not diesel. It so undercuts the truth of what he's saying that I think it's probably true what he's saying.
So, we need an answer. David's team. Is Dennis Chris's burglary buddy, Sarah's gardening angel, or Lee's falsetto friend?
Tom, what do you think?
No, what do you two think?
Well, I was very taken with your Lee.
So... Making such a bad mistake, wasn't it?
But Sarah didn't like it when we were taking the mickey out of Dennis. Maybe that...
There was a bit of feeling there,
yeah,
wasn't there?
a bit like, genuinely, this man has helped me in the park.
But maybe it was just, you know, acting...
If it turns out you're lying, Sarah,
Yeah.
Tom thinks you're a good actor.
Yeah.
If you're telling the truth, he can take or leave your performance.
I mean, I personally, the one that rang true the most was Cammy's, I felt.
Really?
Yeah. Did you not?
Really? No. No, I didn't.
I've just ruled out Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
Well done. Beautiful acting, Sarah.
But it's definitely acting.
Yes.
Richard, would you like to rule anyone out?
Yeah, I would rule out Lee, I think.
OK. Well, I mean, that's very easy then. If you're ruling out Sarah and you're ruling out Lee, I'll rule out Chris and we can move on.
It is time to make a decision.
So you think... Sarah.
It's Sarah. OK, you're saying it's Sarah. You're saying it's a good man.
I'll be so unhappy if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, Christmas is over.
OK, they're saying that it's Sarah. Dennis, would you please reveal your true identity?
Yes, I'm Dennis, and Chris and I staged the burglary together.
Yes, Dennis is Chris's burglary buddy. Thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you.
Just say that one more time.
Chris and I staged the burglary together.
He has got quite a squeaky voice, hasn't he?
Thanks very much, Dennis. So please welcome this week's special guest, Mick. So, Kelly, what is Mick to you?
Well, this is Mick, and I have a photo of him in my car to stop me getting road rage.
Joe, how do you know Mick?
This is Mick, and when we were bell ringing together in church, he was responsible for me being hoisted 20 foot up in the air.
Lee, what's your relationship with Mick?
This is Mick. His surname is Partridge, and I once had to rescue him when he was stuck up a pear tree.
So, there we have it. David, where do you want to start?
OK.
Can you do me a favour? Can you start with these two, because I might need a while.
OK. Kelly, why have you got a photo of Mick to avoid road rage? How does that help?
Mick's known me for a long, long time. So he used to have to calm me down quite a lot on the track, and then he used to come and watch some of the races, because obviously when you're a young kid, you get your family members and friends and things to come. And so, because Mick used to always make me smile when I was stressed, he gave me this one photo.
And what is he doing in the photo?
Smiling.
Is he wearing anything, or...?
Well, luckily, it's just a headshot.
Do you ever get road rage, Ruth? Is that something that affects you?
I do get annoyed, but I don't show any anger or rage. I tend to just smile or blow a kiss or wave at them in an annoying fashion.
In an ironic...
Ironic
man.
Yeah,
David, I would imagine you're an absolute brute at the wheel.
I am not legally allowed to drive a car.
Oh.
Does that mean you drive a car illegally?
No, I haven't... what's the expression?
Passed your test?
Yeah, that's it.
Passed your test. But have you ever had lessons?
Oh, yeah. Ineffective in terms of engendering in my brain the knowledge of how to drive.
How many lessons did you have?
Up to 45,000.
OK. Who would you like to quiz next?
So, Joe, bell ringing.
Yeah.
Are you a keen bell ringer?
Not anymore.
Were you a keen bell ringer?
I was never really that keen on it, if I'm honest.
Have you ever been bell ringing?
I have been bell ringing.
Where was it and why did you give it a go?
Is it a church, David?
Yeah.
What was the church called?
I can't remember, actually. Saint Somethings.
No, that narrows it down.
Yeah. Can you remember where it was?
Yeah, it was in a village in Kent.
OK, that's plausible. If she'd said North Korea, we got a question. What was the scene? Well, picture the scene for us.
Well, what happened was I had been to church a few times. I didn't like it.
So when was this? What age were you?
About 12.
Right.
And so I could either have gone in the church choir or been a bell ringer.
And what happened? What did Mick do that led to this?
Well, it was a sort of prank that used to be played on new ringers. And what happened was that Mick said to me, "Can you hold this a minute?" And I just put my hand out without looking. held onto the rope and just went like that, right, like 20
You went
foot up in the
20
air.
feet up in the air.
Yes, I did.
How
Rob.
old was Mick then?
A couple of years older than me.
So you were about 12, he was sort of 14.
Oh, so he was a young lad doing it. I was imagining him at the age he is now.
It's before the service. You're doing the pre-service bell ringing.
Yeah.
Why aren't you on your own bell rope? What are you doing there that you're able to respond to his call, you know, grab hold of this? Which is a dangerous thing to respond to without looking in all sorts of circumstances.
Not quite as dangerous as your impression of bell ringing, which looks more like cow milking. You're going like this.
Sorry, I'm no sort of mime, but what is it more like that? Is that more like it?
I think it's
Happy Christmas!
You have to get it from one position to another position, and while you're doing that, that's when it's dangerous.
And how do you do that? Is that using the rope, sort of, you yank it along with the rope?
You have to pull the rope in a particular way.
Well, it'd be a nice chance for you to demonstrate how you pull it.
Well, when you're actually ringing a bell properly, you start by putting your hand up and getting the end of the bell rope, which is about that far above your head. You pull that down and you catch the fluffy bit, and then you pull that down with both hands. Then you let go one hand and let it go right up, so it's like that. So that's ringing a bell. In order to get the bell in the right position, you pull it like this. And as you pull it... That's why he married me.
Now, what about Lee and his claim?
Yeah, no, that's not true.
OK, what was he doing up the pear tree, Lee?
He was rescuing a cat. No further questions.
Where was the pear tree?
Next to the cat. The pear tree was in the grounds of a pub.
OK, and this was like in the beer garden?
We were having drinks outside in the beer garden.
Yeah.
We had a bit too many. We went back inside. It got dark, got late, and then we were staying in a local hotel. Everyone was going out to get the taxis home, and that's when I heard a scream. Help! What the pear tree? I thought, what? I remember saying, hark.
Did you know Mick? Was he one of your friends who'd gone to the pub?
Mick, it turns... I never met him before in my life. Mick, it turns out, was the landlord of the pub.
Right.
Right.
And which answers the question why we weren't getting served, but we'll forget that for a minute.
Yeah. How big a tree was it, Lee, and how high was Mick?
The pear tree was quite high, I would say. Using Mick as a measurement of 1, I would say it was about 5 Micks.
How did you actually rescue him?
So I shouted up, what are you doing up there, mate? And he said, well, this is what I heard at the time. Came up to her. I said, you're gonna have to shout, mate, you're 5 Micks up.
He's right at the top. It's a 5 Mick tree and he's right at the top.
Yeah,
I was thinking he'd be about 3.5 Micks.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, though, he was sort of lying on the branch, so his head was only 4 Micks and a bit high.
Right.
Yeah. And he said, well, go and get help. So I said, well, have you got any ladders? He said, yes. And I said, right, well, good luck. And off I went.
But how had he got up there? How did he manage to get up in the first place?
How did he manage? Well, he clambered up. So the cat was, it turns out, was at the top of the tree, right at the top. I'm talking 5.5 Micks because there was a thin branch on the top. So he's basically... A pear tree is full of...
Pears.
That's the word.
For a very brief period of the year.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is he up there?
Well, would you believe that this cat was partial to a pear? So it wouldn't have happened any other time. He says he's always like this, his country bloke. Always like this, he is.
But he wouldn't go for a near pear. Not
or one of the many that drop on the floor.
Not one that had fallen.
David, it was the last pear. He'd eaten the others.
So it wasn't full of pears. There was only one pear
It was full
at
of
the top,
no.
like an angel.
He was full of pears when he started climbing. He'd been up there for 2.5 seasons. So off I went and got the ladder, clambered up the first bit of the ladder, and I just sort of helped Mick down onto the ladder, and we became lovers. So no questions.
All right, well, we need an answer. So David's team, is Mick Kelly's calming companion, Joe's bell-ringing buddy, or Lee's partridge in a pear tree?
I think it's Joe that's telling the truth. Do you know why? Because of a rope action.
You think it's Joe?
Yeah, and I don't know what it would take to calm you down, Dame Kelly. I don't think Mick is the answer, though. Oh.
He looks calm now. You want to see him on the top of a pear tree gripping a cat. Absolutely embittered.
What are you thinking, David?
I think it's Joe. That's what I think.
You think
Yeah.
the bell ringing? Ruth thinks possibly
yeah.
bell ringing. Bill?
Yeah, I'll go with bell
The
ringing.
bell for Bill.
Yeah.
OK. Right. They all think it's Joe. Mick, would you please reveal your true identity?
My name is Mick, and I was responsible for Joe being hoisted 20 feet off of the ground.
Yes, Mick is Joe's bell-ringing buddy. Thank you very much, Mick. Thank you. So please welcome this week's special guest, John. So, Rachel, what is John to you?
This is John. He comes to Countdown every single day and presents me with a freshly baked cake.
Ricky, what is John to you?
This is John. If he hadn't decided to join my band, he could have been in the Beatles.
And finally, Lee. What's your relationship with John?
This is John. After my mate John was involved in an accident, I went to visit him in hospital, but I mistakenly sat next to this John's bed and spoke to him for 2 hours.
David's team.
OK. Rachel, he brings a cake every day.
Yep.
What sorts of cakes?
Well, last week it was carrot cake, because that's my favourite.
So sometimes he deliberately doesn't make your favourite cake to show displeasure at your maths.
There was one he did, it looked like red velvet, but it was with beetroot. That was really good. And I think it was the Victoria sponge.
John looks gutted.
How many
Of course
cakes
he's
would you
gutted, he was
say?
almost in the Beatles!
How many cakes would you say he's given you?
237.
237 cakes.
Do you get someone to have a little peck before in case he's poisoned them?
Oh, no, because...
Carol Vorderman.
He comes...
So John comes and sits in the studio audience with the cake, and who collects the cake from him?
We always have a chat at the top of the show. We've got a warm-up guy and you go and say hi and he's there every time, so it's just...
I'm interested to hear that Countdown has a warm-up guy, because, I mean, that audience really is buzzing.
We have a very loyal audience.
What does John... Do you know anything about his life?
Well, he likes Countdown.
Yeah.
So even though he's brought you 237 cakes, you've never asked him anything about his life?
That's showbiz.
Can I see John's baking hands, or is he not allowed to move?
You can have a look if you want, Josh.
Yeah. Well, right. I can check if they're musicians' hands as well while I'm up here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is it you're looking for there, Josh?
Just like flour under the nails. Those aren't the fingers of a guitar player.
Right.
Because they haven't got any hard ends on them.
Which is the exact phrase Paul McCartney used when he's active.
Exactly.
What is the worst cake John has ever cooked you?
He doesn't do bad cakes.
No, but there's still, even among 237 excellent cakes, there still has to be a worst.
You didn't get that voiceover for Greg's, did you?
All right, David. OK, we'll move on to Ricky. I'm not an expert on music, so I feel...
You've heard of the Beatles,
I
though.
have heard of the Beatles. So how did you manage to spoil John's chances of being in the Beatles?
Well, I had a little band in Liverpool I used to go round, and one of my mates in my band spotted him and said, I've seen this fella, he's great, and we poached him. What did he play? What instrument? Piano. Piano?
Piano.
Piano. Piano.
Piano.
So,
So who's the pianist in the Beatles instead of him?
So, did you poach him directly from the Beatles?
No.
He was never in the Beatles?
No.
Well, how do you know he would have been in the Beatles?
Because the band that he was in went on to become the Beatles.
What were they called?
First of all, it was the Quarrymen, then the Silver Beatles, and then the Beatles.
So, I read the book about the Beatles. What's his surname?
John DeFlo.
John DeFlo?
Yeah.
Okay, you know a lot about this. OK, ask the forensic question.
OK, when John was in the whatever incarnation of the Beatles, who else was in it at the time?
I think it was Pete Best.
Yeah.
Paul, John, and John Lennon.
Matthew, Mark.
Luke.
John joined your band, Ricky.
Yeah.
What was your band called?
The City Slickers.
And did it go well for the City Slickers?
I think John
compared
was
to the Beatles, which would you say went better?
I think John was a bit too good for us, and he didn't drink as much as us, so he got off.
Did he resent that you'd taken him out of the Beatles?
No, I think the hate mail is just part of the game.
David, what about Lee? Remind us of yours, Lee.
OK, so this is John. After my mate John had been involved in an accident, I went to visit my mate John, but mistakenly sat next to this John's bed and spoke to him for 2 hours.
Why didn't you realise it was a different John?
Because this John had some bad injuries, and as a result, his jaw was all wired up. He had a bandage over his eye, and the bit that was left was a very, very black eye. Lots of grazes and scabs around his head.
And you thought, my God, that must have been a tough appendicitis operation.
Well, I never said my mate John had an appendicitis.
No, what had happened to your mate John?
So my mate John, he'd been involved in a sledging accident. He's my neighbour, and someone had phoned me and said, John's in hospital, he's had a bad sledging accident.
How had the accident happened?
It's a weird one. You know, sometimes people go to hospital and they're all right, but then they go downhill very quickly. Complete reverse.
So you arrive at the hospital.
Yeah.
And do you know what ward John is in?
No, I don't know what ward he's in, because I've just raced straight there. Asked his name, they sent me up to the 3rd floor. I went into there's like a mini reception then, and I said, I'm looking for John, the guy involved in the sledging accident.
You didn't think to use the surname of John once you got to the mini reception?
By this time I was panicked.
So you're very emotionally close to your next-door neighbour.
I'm very fond of my neighbour John.
So you're really, the process of going to the hospital, you're panicking. Oh, my God, is he all right? Is he all right? I can't remember his surname.
No, because John, my mate John lives on his own, and I'm not going for the sympathy.
He lives on his own occasionally. He goes sledging on his own. He's a loner.
He was out.
A very active, Christmassy loner.
He was out with his grandchildren.
So you got to the mini reception.
Yeah.
What did you say to the nurse?
I'm looking for John, the sledging accident, and this woman English wasn't her first language. She sort of said something quickly, like pointed end to the right. So I rush up, and I'm sat in this sort of, private room just with his bed, and I'm saying to him, I'm so sorry. Joe, first of all, where are the grandkids? Do you want me to sort anything out? And he went, oh. Which I now know to be, I think you've got the wrong person.
When did you discover that this John wasn't your John?
When I started to realise something wasn't right was when in his state he still managed to mime and go, and that was the bit I thought, something's not right here. And then as I was thinking, a nurse came in, and I said, can I just check? This is John, who's been involved in the sledging accident. And she said, no. And I said, well, when I asked you, you said to,
It was the same one as the one on the reception desk.
This is the bit that you're not going to believe.
Yeah.
It turns out this woman, whose language wasn't first language English, turns out his surname is Ledging. And thought that I'd said John Ledging accident.
Is your next-door neighbour's surname Ladder, by any chance?
Don't be facetious, you know it's not.
Yeah.
That's my stepson's name.
All right, we need an answer. So, David's team, is John Rachel's baking buddy, Ricky's musical mate, or Lee's poorly patient?
It's not Lee, is it?
We don't think it's Lee. I think Ray thinks it might be Ricky.
Yeah.
You think it might be
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a feeling it could be Ricky. John, show us your fingers
You
again.
hold your hands up, thank you.
Oh, yeah, they look like pianist fingers to me.
Good for baking.
That is exactly as he was lying when I went to... There was metal rods underneath that.
I think if Rachel was telling the truth, she'd have known more about his life.
Yeah, because
she knew very little.
she'd
Yeah, she'd know at least like, about his life at all.
You are
Yeah.
quite bright, actually.
I think it might be Rachel.
I don't think it's Rachel, but...
OK, and you don't... You both think it's Ricky,
I'll
don't you?
go with Ricky, I think, yeah.
OK, well, I think we're going to say it's Ricky. It's telling
OK,
the truth.
right. John, would you please reveal your true identity?
My name's John. I could have been in the Beatles, but I left to join Ricky's band.
Yes, John is Ricky's musical mate. Thank you, John.
Nice to see you, Kev. Oh, my God. How are you, my friend? Great to see you. Lovely. And is this 50 years?